which has been awesome. We have a lot of hyper-local experts, and we all could work all over Colorado, but really ensuring that our buyers have experts in each pocket has been a huge priority for me as I've created and grown the brokerage.
Like
our name, people will call us like Live, Laugh, Love Real Estate, Live, Laugh, Denver Real Estate, Live, Laugh Real Estate. I don't care. My joke, dad joke is, I don't care what you call me, just call me, right? So our name comes from Live, Laugh, Love, a play on that. And now the joke's on everyone else because we're basically advertised at every TJ Maxx and Marshalls, right? But when I moved here, when I was 21 and very single, I always thought, who needs love when you have Denver? I was immediately obsessed with Denver. So that is where the name came from. And now it just stuck, and here we are. Our core belief is that everyone thrives when they feel at home. So in addition to the objective benefits of home ownership that include tax savings, building long-term wealth, et cetera, there are so many subjective benefits to owning a home as well. And there's a ton of stats around that I'm not going to bore you with, but basically it makes you feel more invested in your community. You end up becoming more of a saver, and you're kinder to your neighbors and take better care of your people. So there's all these subjective benefits too. I bought my first home when I was 21 and I loved having my place. I knew no matter what was happening in my life, I was going to be able to come home. And that is really the piece of it. We also serve renters who are looking for rentals because sometimes it makes sense to rent. It can. And that applies to that too. We want everyone to feel like they have a safe place to go. So our mission is very long because there's a lot of stuff we need to do, but provide the most professional and personalized experience in the industry by educating and empowering, which is why you guys are here today, to make your goals a reality while minimizing your stress, maximizing your investment, and of course, laughing a little along the way. So that is our goal. The big thing that I emphasize is the educating and empowering. I never want anyone to feel steamrolled during this process. There's a lot that gets thrown at you. And if you, like I said, if you haven't done it before and someone's not making sure you understand all the steps, it can be a little confusing. So our goal is to make sure you feel really confident as you're moving forward. Right. So how's the market? I just wanted to kind of get this, eat the frog first mentality. How's the market? And please, if we were all together, I'd be like, shout out, what are you hearing about the market? I will tell you, I think that what you're hearing is probably worse than reality, but reality is the market is very intense. So there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. We're going to talk a little bit about how to get a leg up in the market and what the process looks like. It is not if you can buy, it's when, and we figure it out, and we're going to help you figure it out. It really is a customized plan. But the stat that everyone loves is that 50% of homes go under contract in the first 4 days. My favorite stat after that is 50% of homes don't go under contract in the first 4 days. So take the time, do what you're doing, all that. Historically low interest rates have started to rise. I'm sure Shelby may speak to that a little bit. It's a sign that our economy seems to be doing some recovery, which is a good sign, obviously, from the pandemic. They're still so low. I mean, my parents told me the first house they bought, which was in the mid 80s, they had a 15% interest rate on it. So when we're talking about 2.75 to 3 to 3.25, it's not like it's not high. It's still very, very low. So buyer demand's high because we live in an amazing state. So that is just compliments to you and the great decision you've made to live here. So congrats. Inventory is really low, and it's been that way because they aren't making any more land, that mentality. But also last year, a lot of home starts and home builds, which is where we see some relief in inventory as new home builds, were delayed, if not completely paused, due to the pandemic, supply chain issues we were having, obviously trade wars that we've been in for a couple of years or had been in for a couple of years. So that added to an already intense time. So we're hoping, and then the home builders are working their tails off and are making some quick moves. So we're hoping to see some reprieve from that by the end of the year and then get a little caught up. It's not a Denver problem. Tracy, there's a couple people in the waiting room. Will you let them in real quick? I don't know. and that's what I say, because some people are like, oh, Denver is so crazy. Like if you move to the middle of nowhere, like you can still get a good deal. You don't see the same appreciation. You obviously don't have the amenities of living in a city. But I just wanted to show you guys this to say it's not just Denver. We're seeing crazy appreciation across the entire United States, specifically in the metro areas, though we are seeing some of that urban sprawl, or the urban areas sprawl out more. And these are home price index. So this is actually like point by point data points versus just looking at median and averages. Not going to bore you with too many stats. But again, it's a country problem. It's a countrywide problem. So if you move to Chicago, you're going to have inventory challenges too. Same with, California. The East Coast is still challenged, but we saw a 24% decrease in homes that are available from 2019 to 2020. That's a big, that you feel that's a quarter, right? And then if you look here at where we were year over year for the, again, this is a nationwide statistic. Last year at this time, CoreLogic thought we would be negative 4% on appreciation, so depreciation. And this again is data points, and we instead are up 9.2%. So that's what, a 13.2% swing. That's huge. I don't think, and I don't hope that we continue at that rate, but that is a reflection of the low supply and high demand. And again, it's a nationwide challenge. So as we talk more specifically about the Denver market tonight, don't be discouraged, because it's a problem everywhere. Misery loves company. I don't know. But they're forecasting 2.9% year over year nationwide. We'll see. CoreLogic has a tendency to be pretty accurate until they're not, like all statistics, right? My favorite economists, these are my last two slides, Shelby, so you can be ready to share. My favorite economist, because I have one because I'm a nerd, is Elliot Eisenberg. And he looks at the macro economy. So nationwide, he looks at all different industries. But when you look at closed listing or closed homes in January this year compared to other Januaries, it's insane. So that just speaks to the demand. How we can have such low inventory and still see such a higher number of closes is a little bit mind-blowing. Again, this is nationwide stats. And then for fun, for those of you who are here in Denver or in Colorado, marijuana, which is legal here, has led to increased sales of booze and, all the good stuff. So I thought that was a fun stat to end with. And, it's been proven that it doesn't have as bad of consequences, et cetera. So fun stats from Elliot Eisenberg. You too can sign up for his stuff. It's hilarious. All right. I will stop my share, Shelby, and I will mute myself, and you are a go.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right, let's give this a whirl. You guys see my screen? Thumbs up? Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Lindsay, and everybody over at Live Laugh Denver for having me as a speaker tonight. I'm so passionate about helping first-time home buyers achieve home ownership. So I love teaching these classes. And like Lindsay said, there's no dumb question, especially when it comes to mortgages. It's like Latin. So please use the chat if you have any questions, or if I'm going too fast, stop me. I really want this to be interactive. So let's get started. Home buying 101. So real quick, just kind of who I am. I work for Fairway Independent Mortgage Company. We are a private lender. We are national, but Colorado is our biggest state. And I am lucky enough, most days I would say, to work alongside my family. So I work alongside Marilyn, my mom, and Todd, my brother. We all kind of have our individual specialties, but first-time home buyers are near and dear to me, and that's who I kind of specialize with. So why do you guys rent? I'm assuming if you're here, you're most likely renters. Maybe some of these reasons kind of resonate with you. This is what I hear most often with my renters is less money out of pocket month to month, maybe. More flexibility, less maintenance or responsibility, maybe. Or maybe it's credit issues or lack of down payment. So we'll chat through those things right today. Owning has benefits. You're all here because you know that owning is long-term a better option than renting. But some of those benefits are your home equity. Owning a home is just a great long-term investment. Your equity is essentially a forced piggy bank that you can tap into down the road. There's also federal tax deductions that come with owning that do not come with renting. So for example, you can write off your property taxes, your mortgage insurance, in some cases, any expenses if you turn it into an investment property. So there are a lot of tax deductions with owning that you wouldn't ordinarily have with renting. You're able to increase your home's value with renovations or just through natural appreciation. Like Lindsay just pointed to, we're seeing a lot of that, and you're just gaining that appreciation just by living in your home day to day. And at the end of the day, you're paying your own mortgage, not your landlord's. So I won't spend too much time on this slide. It's kind of depressing, but you can look at the monthly rent on the left-hand side and see how much that really does add up over the years, 2, 5, 15 years down the road. Your monthly rents really do add up over time. So it makes sense to just turn those rents into a mortgage sooner rather than later. And that goes into your equity, basically money in your pocket down the road. So step one, you want to buy a house. Where do you start? Step one, you want to talk to a local lender. Does not have to be me, but please talk to someone local. Don't talk to someone at an internet company or, back east where you're from. You really want to work with someone that's here local, that's privy to all of the state and county programs that you might be qualified for, and someone that really understands this market. In that initial consultation with that lender, they're going to talk to you about 6 major things. Number one, pretty not surprising, we want to know, how are you paid? What's your income? We also want to know about your debt. And this comes to us as a surprise to a lot of people, but we really only care about minimum debt. So a lot of people think, oh, I have hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loan debt, I can't buy a house. That's not necessarily the case. We only care about that minimum monthly payment that shows up on a credit report. We want to look at what your credit score is. That's going to be really important, and I'll dive into that in a moment. We also want to know more about your employment history and your pay structure. So how long have you been at your job? How are you paid? Are you paid with a 1099 as a contractor, or are you on a cookie cutter salary? Those are going to make a big difference in our process. Property type is going to play a role in the pre-approval as well. Condo downtown, the glass house is going to look a little bit different financing wise than a single family home. So we want to know that upfront, what you're most interested in. And last but not least, we want to talk about your assets. So basically, where's the money coming from for your down payment, closing costs, and any extra reserves that we might need. So those are the 6 major things that you're going to talk to with the lender upfront. And those are going to comprise what's called a pre-approval. So why is it super important to start step number 1 with the lender and get pre-approved? There's a couple reasons. First and foremost, you want to understand what your budget is. You wouldn't want to go look for a car having no idea what the monthly payment would be. Same thing with a house. So you just want to be comfortable with what you're actually looking at. Number 2, this is super important, especially in our market. You need a pre-approval letter when you submit an offer. So when your real estate agent is submitting an offer for you, they're going to reach out to your lender. And this is where it's really important to work with someone local that works on nights and weekends. They're going to reach out and say, hey, we need a lender letter at this price for this property. And your lender is going to write up a letter, sign it with their signature, with their license information saying, I've done my due diligence. This person is qualified for this purchase. They essentially attach that letter like a cover letter on that offer to the sellers. So it shows the sellers that you're A, very serious, and B, that you're very qualified. Without that lender letter, I think Lindsay or any of the agents here could speak to that. Your offer is just probably not going to be as strong. And probably the most important reason why you want to start with the pre-approval is to remove stress while you're under contract. Our goal as a lender is to pre-approve you to basically have the loan completely done before you're under contract. There's enough going on when you're under contract, enough stress, enough, drinking out of the fire hose. We don't want to be asking you about how, you're paid three weeks into the transaction. That's not the goal. So let's do a little bit deeper dive into credit. This could be a whole nother presentation, so I won't go too terribly deep, but basically, what is a credit score? A credit score is basically just like a number that shows how well you've paid your bills over your lifetime, essentially, to really dumb it down. And if you have an 850, that's going to be a perfect score. I think the best score I've ever seen is an 820. But 850 is going to be the very best FICO score that you can have. Anything above a 740 is considered excellent in our eyes, in the lender's eyes. So 740 and above is going to be very, very good. 700 to 740 is still going to be a good score. You're most likely going to still have great rates and good mortgage terms. Anything under 700, we can definitely still work with you, but we might have to look at different loan programs, or you might have to pay a little bit more in your interest rate or in your private mortgage insurance. Anything under 620 is considered poor. We can actually lend all the way down to 600, but it just becomes a little bit more difficult. So if we can get you above 620, 680, or 700 if possible, then that's going to be best. So a couple myths that I hear practically every day working primarily with first-time homebuyers is that I need to have 20% down and I need to have perfect credit. And those are just simply not true. So if you look at the left-hand side, you can see the average FICO score, and that's credit score. The average credit score of all approved loans is a 726. So if you remember, that's a good score. Certainly not excellent, but it's good. And on the right-hand side, you can see for FHA, the average FICO score of all FHA loans is actually a 675. So that's actually in the poor range, and that's on average. So we have full options for people without stellar credit. So that should not be a reason that you guys are not looking at purchasing. And then down payments, on average, the average down payment for all buyers is 10% down. And for first-time home buyers, on average, it's 6% down. And I'll talk with you in a moment about what the minimum down payments are. And then something that the lender is going to look at after they chat through those 6, major topics with you is we're going to look at basically how much you can afford. This is our major job, figuring out how much you can afford. And we look at what's called a debt to income ratio. That's what we use in our qualifying process. You might hear DTI it's debt to income. We refer to that a lot. So kind of rule of thumb is about 45% of your gross income can go towards debt every month. So if you take your annual income and you do gross income, so before you contribute to 401k, before taxes, your true gross income, you divide that by 12 and you get your monthly gross income, 45% of that number can go towards debt. So that can go towards your new mortgage payment, plus any existing debt that you have, like car loans, credit card payments, student loan payments. So basically, I'm not expecting you guys to run your own calculations, but this is just to show you that the less debt that you have, the more room there is for that future mortgage payment. Basically, the more house you'll be able to afford. So your debt to income ratio is going to be a really big component to this process. And before I move on, a lot of people are surprised by the debt that shows up on a credit report. So I want to dive into that a little bit more. So we only see installment loans. So that's going to be like car loans, mortgages, and student loans. And then we'll also see revolving credit, like credit cards. That's really all that shows up on a credit report for the most part. We're not going to see your cell phone bill. We're not going to see your rent. We're not going to see your car insurance. So there's a lot of payments that you might consider monthly debt that us as a lender, we don't necessarily see. So a lot of times people can qualify for actually more than what they thought they might be able to because of the lower debt amount and the higher income that we're able to use. So diving into some different loan programs. So these are kind of the 4 major buckets: conventional, FHA, VA, and USDA. And really, truly, probably about 95% of people fall into the conventional or FHA. So that's what I'll focus on tonight. A conventional loan is going to be your most traditional loan option. That's probably what all of your parents used when they first bought. The minimum down payment required as a first-time home buyer is 3%. After you've purchased before and you're no longer a first-time home buyer, it's a 5% minimum down payment, just FYI. You're going to carry monthly mortgage insurance, also known as MI or PMI. You're going to carry that if you put less than 20% down. So if you don't put a 20% down payment, you do have to carry that mortgage insurance every month. That mortgage insurance will drop off the loan once you've hit 20% equity. So either through extra payments or through natural appreciation. Once that happens, that mortgage insurance will fall off the loan. An FHA loan, which is that gray bubble there, that's going to be a government loan. It's 3.5% down minimum, regardless of if you're a first timer or if you've bought in the past. The difference between FHA and conventional, the biggest difference is that it's a lot more of a flexible loan program. So it's going to be more flexible on credit. If you remember, the average FICO score for FHA was a lot lower than conventional. It's also going to be more flexible on debt. We can actually go up sometimes to about 55% DTI with FHA. And typically it's going to be more flexible on job history, income. It's just typically a little bit more flexible loan. The caveat, or the price you pay for that flexibility rather, is you're going to pay mortgage insurance for the full life of the loan. So for 30 years, you're going to pay that mortgage insurance if you carried your FHA loan for that long. There's also an upfront mortgage insurance fee. So it's just a more fee heavy program. So FHA is a great option for someone to kind of get their foot in the door into homeownership, and then typically we'll refinance them into a conventional loan once we can get their credit up a little bit. And my last slides, or my last major topic tonight, is talking about CHFA, which is near and dear to my heart. I do a ton of CHFA loans. Fairway is actually the #1 CHFA lender in the state, which is awesome. CHFA stands for Colorado Home Finance Authority. So it's essentially a state program that, that encourages home ownership for low and moderate income borrowers. So who's an ideal borrower? You have to be credit worthy. I'll talk about that in a moment, but credit worthy buyers with low to moderate income. That encompasses a whole lot of people, millennials, single buyers, even families, basically people with low funds available for the down payment. There's two ways that we can use CHFA. #1 is we can use it with, we can do CHFA with a grant. Think of a grant as a gift. It's essentially, I don't want to call it free money, but it's money that you don't have to repay. And that's 3% of the first loan if you go with this option. And I'll get into this in a little bit more detail, but you never have to pay back that 3% if you go with this option. You could also take CHFA with a second mortgage, and that would give you 4% in assistance. So it's more in assistance. The caveat to this program is that it is repaid. It's actually a second mortgage, so it's repaid when you either sell or when you refinance the property. So first option is a little bit more flexible because you don't have to repay it. Second option, you do have to repay, but you're getting more assistance up front. There's also a lower interest rate. So usually the terms are slightly more advantageous for this option. So let's do the math. So obviously I'm a lender, I like numbers and I'm visual, so it doesn't make sense to me until it's all laid out in front of me. So let's just look at these first two options here. I'll kind of walk you through how CHFA works. So for example, let's say you're an FHA buyer and you want to do the CHFA grant. Let's say your purchase price is $500,000. Your down payment, if you put the minimum down, would be $17,500. Your total loan amount would be $490,943. Your total closing costs and escrow prepaids are estimated at about $6,000. CHFA charges a 1% origination fee. That's basically how they make their money. So it's 1% of the total loan amount. Again, it's a fee heavier program. But then they're going to give you 3% of the total loan amount in assistance. So they're going to give you almost $15,000 to offset the money that you would need at closing. So at the end of the day, if you went with this option, you would need just under $14,000 to purchase a $500,000 home. That's never repaid. You just bought a $500,000 home for $14,000, never repay CHFA down the road. If you went with the 4% second mortgage option, all of those terms stay the same, except you can see the assistance amount bumps up to almost $20,000. And that's going to bring your total cash to close down to about $8,700. So again, it's going to be less cash out of pocket at closing, with the caveat that you have to pay CHFA back that $19,000 down the road. So in 30 years when you sell, you would owe them back that $19,000. In 5 years, 10 years, whenever you sell or refinance the property, that is repaid. So that's how CHFA works. And here's how you qualify. So the maximum income limit, this actually just recently went up. It's 126,000 is the statewide income limit. You have to have, oh, and a little bit on that. I get this question all the time where maybe two spouses are buying together and maybe both spouses make $100,000. We can remove one of the spouses and just keep the other one on the loan, and then they would still qualify for CHFA. That's completely acceptable. We just have to have whoever's on the loan be under that 126,000. Minimum credit score is going to be a 620. You have to take CHFA's home buyer class. It's just one day. Right now, everything's online, so it's just a webinar. You do not have to be a first-time home buyer, but you can't currently own any other properties. So if you've owned in the past, or if you currently own, you'd have to sell and then purchase with CHFA after the sale. Could even be the same day, but you can't. CHFA is not trying to make you a real estate investor. So that's how you qualify for CHFA. And then a real quick CHFA success story. This is a true story. Last fall, I helped a gal close on a condo for $1,000, truly out of pocket, like to the penny. She was pre-approved with CHFA and found a condo that was listed at $222. She offered $227 and asked for a seller credit of $5,000. The sellers accepted that because it was the same cash in their pocket at the end of the day. And that $5,000 was used to offset all of her remaining down payment and closing costs that CHFA didn't cover. So we offset all of her costs outside of $1,000, and she closed on a mortgage that was less than her existing rent. So pretty awesome, true story. It's a really cool program to help you get into a home sooner rather than later. And my very last slide, I'm almost done talking, I promise, is just a little bit on the cost of waiting. So this week has been a little bit volatile, or really the last about 10 days, but we're still in an interesting place where we're still at absolute historic lows for interest rates. So, and what that really means for buyers is it just means that you have more buying power now than you ever have in the past. And for example, if you look at those on the left, the blue chart there, assuming an interest rate is 3% on a $500,000 home, that would be a true loan payment, a principal and interest payment of about $1,690. Say rates go up 0.5%, which they certainly will. Rates will rise once we recover from the pandemic. At 3.5%, that same $500,000 home, that loan payment goes up to $1,800. At 4%, that monthly payment goes up to $1,900. So as rates rise, your mortgage insurance or your mortgage payment becomes more expensive, but B, your buying power decreases as well. So this is not, a sales tactic or anything. And obviously, the most important thing is having all of your ducks in a row and having it be the right time for you guys to buy and feel comfortable. But knowing that we are in a unique environment where it's never been cheaper to borrow, it can be pretty powerful. So my advice is just start the process early, have a consultation with a lender, see where you're at, create a plan, and connect with one of these awesome agents and become a homeowner sooner rather than later.
Thank you, Shelby.
Yes.
We do have a couple of questions for you.
Yeah.
So first, I want to reiterate what Shelby said about going with someone local. We are at a different pace here. The Denver market is pretty unique. The expectations, we've actually been in a severe shortage for like 7 years now of inventory. So we just work at a different pace. But I got the question, what is the difference between Fairway, a bank, and a credit union? And then I would add broker in there too, if you want to kind of talk about the different kinds of lenders.
Yeah, absolutely. So Fairway is a private company. All we do is mortgage loans. All we do is first mortgage loans even. So that's kind of our bread and butter, is just mortgages. So typically, and I'm just going to kind of stereotype here, but typically private companies are going to work a little bit faster than your average bank. Banks are doing a whole lot of other things. They are opening savings and checkings accounts and, they're doing a lot of other things. They're also probably working bank hours. So that's going to be a very big difference. All of the lenders that work at Fairway, we're all running our own businesses. So most of us are working nights and weekends, available. We all work by referral. Bankers are typically, again, I'm generalizing, typically working bank hours. They're probably on a salary. They probably have a lot of other duties outside of just mortgages. So I would say those are the biggest differences. Local lenders tend to close a lot faster than banks as well, just given the fact that that's all we're doing is mortgages. So I would say those are the major differences. Rates and fees, they might vary from company to company, but we all price off the same bond market, so they shouldn't be tremendously different.
Okay, awesome. And then pre-approval, when would you advise someone getting pre-approved?
So I'm a fan. I honestly don't think I don't think it's ever too early to at least start the process of talking to a lender. A pre-approval is going to last you 4 months. That's how long a credit report lasts for. We might need an updated pay stub or bank statement along that 4-month process, but that's how long your credit report will last for. So start no later than 4 months out, I would say, but I would really say probably a year to 6 months just to get your ducks in a row and have any time to work on credit, or, you know, work out anything with, if there's anything weird with your income. Just give yourself more time than less. So I'd say 6 months to a year.
And if they end up having to pull credit again, isn't it true that you can ask for rapid rescourse because it's for the same home purchase or something to that extent?
So yeah, let's say we pull credit and then you don't find a house in that 4-month period. Well, that mortgage inquiry will wipe off of your credit score, or credit report, excuse me. And after that 4-month period, if we have to pull again, you won't have 2 inquiries on your credit report.
Just the one. Because I know that's always a concern, is I don't want to pull on my credit. Also, even if your credit is good, by working with a lender further out, you can optimize it and get it even better. And 20 points, like, it's not enough to keep you from buying, but it can help you get a better rate. So
exactly.
Sooner is better, and kind of evaluate what your plan is. You mentioned getting a pre-approval before you go shopping. At this point, listing agents are requiring a pre-approval to even enter the home because we can't have any overlap due to COVID. So we're not allowed to even bring buyers without them knowing really what they're qualified for, which is, to your point, if you fall in love with a home and you can't afford it, that's just brutal. And then we always remind everyone, and I know you work by this too, Shelby, you live in the payment, not in the purchase price. Having grown up in an area of Illinois where the average home value is like 80,000-ish. When you see the prices out here, it's like, you know, they're mind blowing, but ultimately it's the payment, and I still pay far less for the home I live in than I would pay if I were to rent it. And so even though when you first buy it may not be the case, you may pay a little bit more to own, trust me, that will stay. So thank you so much, Ms. Shelby. And I know that you also were doing $100 raffle for which place?
Oh, it's a CB2.
Oh, CB2. I hope I'm entered. I'm kidding. I know I'm not. But Mandy went ahead and did that while you were speaking. So we will announce that at the end of the show.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. Let me stop sharing here. All right, cool.
Perfect. And I will share mine again. Oh, technology. You are beautiful and evil. All right. So actually, Amanda Campbell, who's an agent with Live.Laugh Denver, is going to present on the first part of the process. And then McKenna Mao, who is also an agent here, is going to talk about the under contract to close process. So Amanda, take it away.
Great. Thank you, Lindsay. Thanks, Shelby. The fun part now is starting your home search. So typically, on average, people start searching, they look at about 5 to 10 homes. Now we're seeing there's a lot more virtual options, which is really nice. We were seeing that trend before, where especially with COVID, there's Matterport and video tours, and it just really decreases the number of showings that you need to go and do. In our market, as we all know, you may have to write multiple offers to secure your house, but don't let that scare you. I think every experience you have, you learn something new, and you learn what you liked about a house, what you didn't, what works for you. So we have, right now, we launched our new website. We have a custom online portal. So for any of our buyers, we will set you up in there, which allows you to search right on our site. We can update it. It's very up to date with information customized to you. We also still utilize MLS so we can find out whatever information you want. It can be very interactive, which is nice. So our buyers are able to favorite a home or maybe put a question to you, and then we can write back and we can chat on there about specific properties, which is really nice. The next part that everybody should do when they're looking at homes is your own research. So looking at the neighborhood, driving by, kind of getting a feel for where you want to live. Look on Google Maps. Technology is super nice these days. You can zoom in, you can look at the street view, you can look at parks nearby, schools, whatever you want to look at. So definitely look into that, into the schools, anything that's relevant to how you might make a decision based on where you want to live. All right, next slide, Linz. So get ready to be competitive. As we've all reiterated tonight, it's a hot market, and it can be tricky for buyers, but you know, our agency offers amazing training for all of us, and we work together really closely to make sure that we are helping our buyers be super competitive. So we are able to work with everybody to, oh my gosh, sorry guys, I'm like super nervous. We're able to really leverage our team here to ensure that all our buyers are well taken care of. I also
You are
have
good.
I also
You are
have
good, girl. So
a
we do
copy
provide
thing.
a list of offer variables, which is basically everything we've seen from the listing side. And that's what Amanda's talking about. But a big piece of our education is sharing that with you guys, so you feel like you really know what you can do to put your best foot forward. And then we're also digging in so much with the listing agents to find out what we need to do for you to win. And then we put it back on you and say, is this home worth it to you? Because again, we want you guys to feel like you're in the, you know, driver's seat of all of this. Sometimes we don't hear back from listing agents, and so then we do these very long conversations about what's your highest and best and all of that. It's always helpful when we hear back from a listing agent of, you know what, it's already 100,000 over ask and they're doing full appraisal coverage, and we say, you know what, it wasn't meant to be. So yeah, you want to talk about if they want a deal, Amanda?
Yeah, so looking for deals. Typically, you know, if a home's been on the market for longer than 7 days, you may be more likely to get a deal, especially in this market. I think there is a little bit of maybe a stigma attached. People might just be nervous, uneducated buyers or agents or really general public of, well, maybe there's something wrong with this property because it's been on the market for 7+ days. And honestly, that is not always the case. A lot of things happen that things can fall through with previous offers, or maybe just the right buyer hasn't come along. So definitely you can scoop up those ones. Another thing to look for, I mean, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Look at the photos on the listing. You know, are they really terrible photos? Not the greatest photos taken with an iPhone. I think that scares off a lot of potential buyers. They may not want to go see the home, and it just might not get as much traffic. So definitely look for those listings. I'm sure people have seen the recent one in, I think it was Palm Springs or Lake Tahoe or something, with all the mannequins in the house. Yeah. So, you know, maybe you'll come across some of those gems too. Another thing to look for is price decreases. So even if it's above your initial budget, it may decrease in price. And, you know, the search that we set you up on will make sure that you're alerted of any price changes in listings that you're potentially interested in or ones that meet your search criteria. Another thing is the agent creativity, you know, helping you find inventory through our network. So I know that our agents are super involved in a lot of the private online Facebook groups where we can kind of get a gauge on what's coming soon or what people are going to have coming on the market. So we can really leverage that sphere to find inventory, as well as looking at withdrawn homes. Another option that we're really seeing is people looking at new build options. We have a lot of development in Denver, and our team has a really nice little database of all the different neighborhoods with the new builds. We have agents in various communities across the Denver metro who kind of subspecialize in those neighborhoods, who have really added information, so we can help buyers across the Denver metro find what they're looking for in new builds.
Perfect. Thank you, Amanda. I've been asked before, do you work with new builds? Oh yeah, we love working with new builds. I think it's a really fun piece of inventory. I know a lot of people on our team have built homes, and then McKenna, who's coming up next, likes to build them and then buy another one and build it, and then, you know, keep building. Christina, also on our team, has built 3 or 4 homes. Mandy too. So building is fun. There is a lot of tracking to do with the builder reps. And so it's great to have an agent on your side to help guide you through the process. All builders are a little bit different, but they also have a lot of similarities. And pardon my lap dog, he thinks we need to leave the office. This is our official dog, Marty Bader Ginsburg. Okay, next up, Miss McKenna.
All right, so now you're under contract. The hard part is pretty much over. Getting under contract these days seems to be the hardest part, but that's the good thing of working with a Live Laugh Denver agent, is that we're going to do everything in our power to make sure you get under contract. So the first step is going to be your earnest money deposit. So within the first 72 hours of going under contract, you will drop your earnest money check off at the title company. It will be typically 1 to 2% of the purchase price of the home. The funds will be deposited immediately, but this does get applied to your purchase at the closing table. The title company is a third party that will be dispersing the funds. So when you deposit that check, you know that it's not in the seller's hands, it's in the title company's hands, and they're going to take good care of your money until we get to the closing table. So the next part is our due diligence period. Within the first 7 to 10 days, you will receive any due diligence documents specific to the home. And this can be anything from seller's property disclosures, square footage disclosures, lead-based paint disclosures if the home was built before 1978. And this also will include HOA information. And this is everything that the seller knows to be true about the home, and they are providing it to you as the buyer in good faith. Next, we're going to go through the inspection and insurance phase. So during the first 7 to 10 days, you will also be engaging a third party professional to inspect the home. You can anticipate anywhere from $500 to $1,000 for the inspection. This is an upfront cost to you as the buyer out of pocket, so just be ready for that. This price can vary just depending on the size of the home, what kind of inspections you're having done, and what company you hire. We have a lot of good recommendations for you guys as buyers, so if you're not sure where to start, just ask your agent. We have all the recs for you. During this time, you will also confirm homeowners insurance, that you have access to homeowners insurance for this property. Once you get through the inspection period and you get through a resolution with the seller, we'll have the appraisal. This is typically the 2nd to 3rd week of being under contract. The lender will engage an appraiser to confirm the value of the home, and then your lender will coordinate payment. You can anticipate anywhere between $500 to $1,000 for the appraisal, and this does get paid for at the closing table. You can go next. Okay, so with title, everyone's like, what is title doing? It's kind of this big, like, auspicious thing, like nobody really understands title, and title can be kind of a beast in itself. But while we're under contract, the title company is serving as a neutral third party in the whole transaction. They are working behind the scenes essentially to ensure that your title is clean of any liens before you take possession and you are the homeowner. Again, they are also collecting and dispersing all the funds as a neutral third party, so there is not going to be any issue or discrepancy with funds there. During the process of being under contract as well, your lender is working towards your loan approval. So be prompt in getting all of your documents to your lender, because like we talked about, it is a hot and fast-paced market, and we want to make sure that you are prepared to put your best foot forward and ensure for a smooth transition from beginning to close. Us as your agents are working with your lending team as well as a team for your behalf. And just plan to be in consistent contact with your lending team throughout the transaction. Just when you think you've given them everything, they will probably need something else from you. So just be sure to diligently communicate with them. And once you get your loan approval, you have done the hard work and you've gained your clear to close. So that means that you're officially ready to buy your home. At that time, we will schedule your final walkthrough. And if everything checks out, you get to take your down payment, your ID, and you get to head to the closing table. And then you get to be a homeowner. So after that part is over, once you're getting settled in your home, if you need any recommendations for contractors or services, or you have questions about homes or property taxes or any of that, please reach out to your agent because they are here to work with you and for you for the long haul.
Great job, McKenna. Looks like we have some questions. I'll go through them. So keep them coming. We have 10 minutes left. We can stay over, but must be present to win. And we'll do that at 6:30. What's the best next step for us? Emily asked, do we start with the lender or start with Live.Laugh? We're a team together. So reach out to your agent. If you don't have one already that you know at Live.Laugh, get with me. I will help you get with the right lender and help you ask the right questions and help guide you that way. We partner with Shelby and other lenders as well. Shelby is definitely the sweet spot for our first-time home buyers, especially because her knowledge of the down payment assistance programs and the empathy and sympathy and her experience with first-time buyers is truly unmatched. Do we cover mountain towns nearby and also Estes Park? I personally believe that even though we are licensed in the state of Colorado, we should only work where we have a true level of expertise. So I don't have to live in Highlands Ranch to understand the Highlands Ranch market, right? Because it's the Denver metro area. When you look at, Estes Park as the example, Breckenridge, anywhere in Summit County, they have a very small sandbox of agents who do a lot of business in those areas. And so we find it is the best option for our buyers to refer them to a true local expert. And so when that happens, we stay in touch with you as well to help with our personal relationship that we have with you if you have any questions or want some guidance on things, but ultimately you're going to have boots on the ground in those areas. Now, if you're thinking like Evergreen, Conifer, that kind of thing, like the foothills, absolutely, we work in those areas. Okay. What are some ways some buyers can be competitive on their offer outside of just a sales price? So yeah, the whole price thing is kind of funny because if you don't have all the cash, so let's say a house is listed at 500 and you say, you know what, I'll pay 700 for it. Well, that's fine, because if it doesn't appraise, you only have to pay what it's appraised for. You can back out, whatever. So we talk a lot about appraisal gaps, which basically means if it's 500, you're under contract at 550 and you agree to bring 20,000 over appraisal. Then if it appraises at 500, you would pay 520. If it appraises at 530, you pay 550. And if it appraises at 550, you still pay 550. So that's pretty specific, but the appraisals are there. We also look at deadlines really closely. We ask questions because we cannot assume that every seller has the same goals. So we really focus on understanding what it is that's going to make it best for the seller. We don't do love letters. They're a big fair housing issue, and it has been recommended by the local NAR or local real estate association, as well as DORA, which is our governing body for our licenses, that we don't do them. And then there's a lot of other little things we can tweak in there. I did hear recently that somebody included 2 large pizzas and a case of beer up to the seller's decision. And so that level of bribery written into a contract is very hilarious to me. So it'll be interesting to see how that spins out this year. Is it hard? Ben said, how do you find an inspector? We have a ton of inspectors that we refer. Inspectors, like any business, they cycle through, right? So someone may be super busy right now, so they're not going to be able to take care of someone. So we always have 3 recommendations that we can make. So I always say, ask your realtor, or if you have family or friends who've also bought in the area or recently, they may have somebody they loved as well. our expectations for inspectors is that they are certified and that they also provide a very comprehensive and easy to read report. Some of the inspectors are a little old school. If I see them bring out a pencil to write it down, I'm like, no, I can't work with you, because it does need to be really thorough. That said, a general inspector a lot of times is just telling you where the issues might be. So for instance, they may say there's some damage on the roof, but you should probably get a contractor out here to confirm to what level that damage is, just as an example. And we are, Lulu, I didn't get any of your pizza. Some side comments here too, which I love. I have seen some homes that need work. Are there first-time home loan options that include some remodel funds built into the overall loan? Shelby.
So sorry, didn't realize that.
That's okay. It's never harder to find the mute button than when you're called on like that. So I get it.
I know, exactly. Sorry, this was the question about the homes needing some work.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so yes, short answer is yes. There are awesome renovation loans out there. Fairway has an awesome renovation team. You actually only need 3% down to do those programs, which is very surprising to most. I would probably refer you to someone that specializes in that. Just kind of like Lindsay said, I think you should really focus on what you specialize in. So I would probably refer you to someone who is an expert in that arena. It is a little bit more complicated of a process. It's not quite as easy as HGTV makes it seem. And transparently, it's a little bit more difficult in this market to get those offers accepted, I would imagine, but we could look at refinance options where we help you fund some of those renos. So short answer is yes.
And there's a secondary question that covers the same thing. And Shelby, you have been doing a renovation, I believe. So you know how much fun it is to find contractors right now.
Oh yeah, super fun. They're really reliable people.
Super reliable. Because of everything that's going on, we have a labor shortage as well. So it can be thoughts on fixer uppers. Is it hard to find contractors in Denver? It's not easy. I will tell you that people who want to get into the like buy and flip game are struggling to find inventory where that pencils for sure. And then that's only going to pencil if they can rely on the contractors that they've got. And we have challenges with that. So I say leave major renovations to the builders and builders who do it all day, every day, because they can give these subs consistent work and therefore the subs are always going to work for them. And then think about looking for a place that may need some cosmetic changes, but not necessarily a full-on remodel. Anyone I know who has done a full remodel ends up doubling the time they were expecting it to take, which of course has expenses with it. There's a question about standard documents needed for loan approval. Shelby, can we send that list out as follow-up?
Yeah, absolutely. I can send that out. It's going to vary for every person, but it can be pretty simple if you're just a salaried employee.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw another one. This is actually for a second purchase. Can equity in current home be used for 5% down on next home purchase? Absolutely, Corinne. So we usually advise a HELOC for that. You can do a cash out refinance too, but definitely talking to someone who can help you look at those different options to leverage the equity in your current home to buy your next. That's actually how we ended up with 4 rentals, was really just like hopping around and leveraging the equity from one to the other. And I met with a gentleman who owns, I think, 90 million in commercial properties right now. And I said, should we get our HELOCs paid off? I'm 38. Should we get our HELOCs paid off? He's like, no, leverage. So he's like, just invest. So my dad would tell me, pay them off. And, you know, in this market, it's just a little bit different. And yes, I use HELOCs for those regularly. Lisa, how much value do basements bring in the value of a home? So, oh yeah, HELOC, HELOC, which is home equity line of credit. It's actually an acronym. And those are what Shelby was talking about, that a lot of lenders who lend on primary loans don't do, but we go to banks for them. I do my HELOCs through First Bank specifically. I'd be happy to connect you with Grayson over there. Basements are not that. I'm married to an appraiser. He got into appraising after I was in this. And now I don't know that that was the right decision, because they think of things very differently than me. So But that said, sometimes he says when appraising, you really only look at above grade. So to your question, they're not worth much when you look at comps for a home. So you would have to compare a bungalow with a finished basement with another bungalow with a finished basement. I've also asked him, like, what percentage of per square foot above grade can you then project into per square foot of a basement? And he said, oh, it's not that easy. You have to make an actual lump adjustment. So it really is comparing apples to oranges. I will tell you, a home and a bungalow in Congress Park that's been finished is a lot more valuable than, let's say, a finished basement in Highlands Ranch, where that was a normal thing to choose, or a finished basement in Central Park, where that was a normal option. And you find more homes with basements finished the same. And then the square footage, it's harder to find square footage in an older home. So if you are like digging out the basement and adding a true finished basement, then that is a huge value. And it's, it ultimately, I wish it was more concrete, but it does not factor as much at all. And it's really more of the lump piece. 4 months ago, got the lender letter. Get another one before making offers. Yeah, I'd advise it. I just double check where you're at with everything. Make sure payments haven't changed too much. We talked a little bit about interest rates changing in this last couple of days. So being cognizant of that and making sure that you know what it's going to cost you per month for what you're offering on. It's 6:31. I went over. Mandy, pull the winner of the CB2 gift card. I'm so jealous. They used to have so much more color. Does anyone else remember old CB2? And now it's very gray, but I still love it. Anyways.
You're sticking with the trends, Lindsay.
What?
They're sticking with the trends.
I know. Well, I like a pop of color
Neutrals
here.
are it.
I know. But
Well,
they
you
did
ready?
like all the pop art stuff. Anyways, we'll discuss this over wine sometime. Mandy, who's our winner from your random
name
drawing on that?
generator. And
Yes.
I put everybody's name in. And the winner is Emily Bleeble.
Emily Bleeble. Okay. Emily,
Yay.
look out for $100 gift card for me. It'll come over tonight. So make sure you check your junk or spam. Don't want to miss it.
Oh, thanks, guys.
Awesome. Okay, if anyone has any other questions, I will stop sharing. I don't know why I still was. But I will stick around if you have them. I'm always happy to answer. And then in a month from now, we're going to be talking about building a real estate empire, which we do that class twice a year. And speaking to the question about second home, leveraging the equity, et cetera. And we're also going to talk on the other side of that of moving equity from one house to the next as a way to build your retirement. So we'll be doing that in a month from now. We'll be sure to send you guys the invite for that. Thank you all for attending. I'm excited for you all to add homeownership to your list of accomplishments or second homeownership as well. So I'll stick around, like I said. Otherwise, have a great evening and we will talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you getting so excited for your puppy?
Yes.
Good.
Yes,
Good.
we pick up some stuff, that hand-me-down puppy stuff that a neighbor donated to us.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Amy, when do you pick up the puppy? I saw your post.
Oh my gosh, we fly to Ohio on the 12th and we get home Saturday the 13th. So
Oh my
my
gosh.
first dog
I did
ever.
not know you had to fly to Ohio for him.
Yes. So yeah, we're excited.
Shelby.
Really nervous.
Hi.
Hi, Macy. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm so excited you are at Live Laugh.
Me too.
Yeah, I know. I think that's such a perfect fit. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you.
How's
All right.
everything been going?
Good. Really good. Lulu has a question. Just saw pop up.
Oh,
I think it's the same one though. If it's been 4
okay.
months since
Sorry.
we
It just
together,
popped up.
yeah.
Lulu, I would definitely reach out to your lender. You just want to make sure that your credit's up to date before you're making an offer. Amy, is Amy still on the call? We had a crazy scenario last year. I won't name the client's name. Yeah, but do you remember when
Oh, yeah.
crazy medical collection popped up?
Like 2 days before closing.
Days
Yeah.
before closing. So Lulu, not to scare you, but credit can change. So you just want to make sure that you have a up-to-date credit report before you're out offering on properties. If nothing's changed for your income, I wouldn't worry about it too much, but you just want to make sure your credit is up to date.
Lulu is the last client on the call.
Okay.
And so I have to give her a shout out. Her and Spencer own Dio Mio pasta, which is the best handmade pasta in all of Colorado. And they're getting ready to open Redeemer Pizza, which they keep doing these pop-ups, and they have like a limited kitchen space, and it sells out in 2 minutes most recently. I hop on right at 10 a.m. to order and it sells out. So she's a marketing genius and the food is so good. So I guess Spencer's the like genius chef and then Lulu's the genius marketer. So yes,
Wow.
I'm always shouting them out. It's the best food, you guys.
What's
Someday
up?
we'll have them cater when we can all gather again.
I know. Soon.
Yes.
What's it called again?
Dio Mio is pasta, and then our Redeemer Pizza is going to be the pizza place, but that location hasn't been announced yet.
Can't wait.
Oh.
I'm gonna go have dinner. Bye, everybody. Good to see you.
Hi, Macy.
Bye.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye, feel better.
Thanks, guys. Thank you so much for including
Thank you,
me.
Shelby.
Shelby, good job.
Okay, bye. Oh wait, Lindsay, can you send me
I sent it to you, Shelby, in the,
oh you did.
I direct message it to you.
Oh, okay, let me look.
Download it before
There it is, Emily. Perfect. Sweet. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, talk to you later.
Bye, guys.